Welcome to part 5 of the Wu campaign for Oriental Empires. Last time our war with the Han came to an end and we dealt with a brief war with our own people. Then we finally started advancing through the ages by bothering to enact edicts. We followed up by doing some tax and trade reform, making us suddenly very rich. We used those riches to pay off our new big enemy, the Chu, securing ourselves some more time to use this money to turn ourselves into a very rich and prosperous nation. What this actually entails on a turn-by-turn basis is mostly spending money on city upgrades. This improves public order and increases our growth rate, allowing us to get more people and hence more money. I'm also going to be micromanaging the farms, in particular building farms outside of our borders that allows you to expand your borders. This doesn't really do anything, but it makes you look more prosperous because you have more tiles under your control, so that's nice, isn't it? There really is nothing much more to it, so we're going to be skipping over blocks of turns here as we gradually boom up. Here I was deciding whether to build a palace. A palace is something that increases your culture score, and I thought let's see what the scores actually are right now. We can see the scores among other factions. We're just about level with the Chu. They're definitely going to be our rival right here, and the Chu are much more cultured than us apparently. We're far behind in terms of culture points, so no cultural victory on the cards for us. We're the biggest empire though. We've got lots of people and lots of settlements, so we've got a lot of potential. Militarily we're very weak, but we have so much money now we can turn that situation around if we want. If we just bother to raise up all of our peasant armies, we'll be strong. Now since we're making loads of cash, I can come into the edict screen and enact the central bureaucracy edict. We're going to centralize the government a bit. This costs us loads of money, but it also unlocks other things we can do. So now we can do more useful things as a state and try to make that money back. Among the things it unlocks are the ability to redistribute land to make the peasants happy. That might come in quite handy. More importantly, there are things like taxes, which make the peasants angry, but we can get some cash off it. I'm not going to use that salt tax right away. First I'm going to do private land ownership. So now the peasants are allowed to own their own farms. This makes the peasants a bit more happy and it increases farming productivity, and that's going to increase our population even more, thus further increasing the taxation potential once we do whip in with the big taxes later on. We have to pay upkeep on the private ownership edict. So we're down on the deal right now. We're paying for that and the central bureaucracy. However, once we get that salt tax going, the money we make from that more than covers both of those expenses, so I think we do end up making a profit from all this edictry in the end. Plus, no rebellions, that's good to see. I'm micromanaging public order a bit more, giving people breaks, so the people aren't outraged that I'm changing everything at the top end of government right now, and more importantly, taking their money. At around this point I build a new settlement off to the west of Guanling to act as another frontline military base type thing in our rivalry with Chu and perhaps even with the Han, since we now directly border them with this new settlement. On the topic of the Han, I went to them in the diplomacy screen soon after because I wanted to become actual friends with them. At this stage I'm growing much faster than them, so there's no point going for more war with them right now. We'll just take them out later if we need to. There's also the Chu to consider. Right here they're offering to buy that settlement I just made for a not particularly large amount. We're going to throw that away and try and keep on the table the idea of being friends, which was also brought up, because again, not being at war for a long time should benefit me, assuming I'm making more money than they are. I throw into the deal the idea of them telling me where they live, and while that apparently favours me very much, they accept the deal and we have it, so we've got our friendship. And now we can see that what we could see previously of the Chu Empire is just the east part of it. Their capital, which one would assume is roughly in the middle, is all the way off to the west, so either they've got a strangely shaped empire, or they are indeed a big empire fit to be our rival. Also, on the topic of diplomacy, the Dong Yi came to me asking to be my friend. They'll pay me 1 coin now and more later for it as well, and give me some intel, so that was very nice of them. I've got some troops together here, including now some trained troops, not just peasant class troops. We've got the better class due to our economic development. And I've gathered them because I want to move north and attack some of the rebels left behind by the fall of the Han. I thought maybe we can actually take the settlement of Xincheng over here. There was a small peasant army outside to the east, so one of my stacks is going to be fighting them, while another stack is going after the city. I think the stack fighting outside was the inferior one. This one is just a load of generic peasants with a few heavy spear troops mixed in there. It doesn't matter very much, the enemy are so weak that we can just spam peasants at them and win. Meanwhile, our trained archers now make short work of the enemy palisades and gaps in the wall can be opened up. The peasant army to the east routs during the combat, giving us extra numbers to storm the city. We open up a whole load of breaches and burn all their towers, while our melee infantry try to press their way inside. Here some of our noble axemen are going right into the front of the enemy's pike wall and are finding success by the looks of things, just hacking those peasants down. And after only 2 turns we're going to be able to take the capture. We killed so many enemies that somewhere a group of them was destroyed and our men could move in behind and get the capture before the fighting was done. There we have it then. Our newly upgraded army actually does the job. We've succeeded where we failed before, and Xingcheng is now ours. All of the farmlands raise and the city is in a right state, but this is going to be better than building a new city. Now the Shang, the vassals of the Han, ask us to tell them our capital location. I thought, okay, I'll tell you if you just straight up give me some of your territory. I was feeling particularly cheeky and aggressive for this negotiation for some reason. I'm also very rich, so I thought, well, maybe we can bribe them into accepting this outrageous deal. So I put a cool 10 grand on the table. I was about to click it and I thought, whoa, what if they actually accept this deal? Then I have to actually pay them. We don't want to be losing that much money right now. So I thought, well, I'll offer them a deal that's worse. I'll give them some money in exchange for the settlement. And they actually accepted the deal. Did not really expect that to work. So not only have we gained Xingcheng this turn, we've also gained Yiyang off to the northwest on the other side of the Han territory. So that's very good, isn't it? It's in an awkward location, it's not connected to our empire, but it's at a crossroads between a load of other factions, so it's a really strategic location. It's also already developed up to the next level of defences. It's not just wooden walls, it's got the rammed earth walls, making it a perfect military outpost. I noticed that for some reason the Shang army is actually occupying it this turn. I'm guessing there's just some sort of glitch where things don't quite work out with the turn order if you buy settlements off the enemy. But anyway, those units going in there eventually disappear off somewhere else and Yiyang will be ours. And I'm going to send an army of trained men to permanently garrison that area. It also already has the military buildings for creating trained troops, so it's a great military base for our front line. We'll garrison it up and use that as a bastion against any future violence in the area. Now, if you thought that was a bit cheeky, check this out. I was thinking, well, if they accepted that deal for me to buy a settlement, maybe I can buy an entire faction. So I went and talked to the Han and said, if I just give you loads of cash, will you surrender to me? And the answer was yes, and this is a special offer deal because remember the Shang were the vassals of the Han, so I just vassalized the Han with that deal and I get the Shang as well, sort of anyway. They're still actually the vassal of the Han, but they're considered to be my vassal at the same time. So bang, just like that, 2 factions have been vassalized. This has been a very productive bit of diplomacy right here. It makes our border gore a bit less bad as well, because at least now Yiyang is on the other side of allied territory. It's not stuck out in the middle of potentially hostile territory. All this has had a positive effect on the scores. We are starting to move away from the Chu now. You can see in these scoreboards that both the Han and the Shang weren't particularly strong. They weren't really contenders, so I guess that's why they were willing to just bow down to me, the number 1 faction. We can actually look at the victory conditions and see how we're doing overall, even against factions who we haven't discovered. And it looks like things are going well. We are on track to win the campaign apparently, except for the cultural victory condition. Since the Chu have more culture than us, that's fine, but as for having population under our control, having people respect us as the emperor, and for the you win if you're the best faction when the time limit runs out victory, we are on track for success. This is good to see. The Minua come to me asking to be friends with this weird Gormless guy doing the negotiations. And now I'm feeling pretty confident about diplomacy. I'm like, well, if you want to be friends, you better give me some territory. I thought we probably should sweeten the deal here with a little bit of gold, just to make it less one-sided. And strangely, these guys weren't too expensive to buy. We only had to give them a little bit of money for them to consider this deal worthwhile, and they actually took the deal right there with barely any money on the table. So we've just bought another settlement. This is one of a pair of two new settlements that the Minyu have put to our southwest. So I guess the place isn't worth very much, so that's why we bought it so easily. But now we have it, another frontier settlement with the Chu just off to the west there. That will be an important location to fortify. Going to take a while because it's only a small settlement, but we'll come back to that later. We've still got plenty of time since we are officially friends with the Chu right now. Along similar lines, I'm setting up a new settlement here on the Chu's border as well. This is Chaisang, and again, going to take a while to build this place up, but if we can wall it off and get troop production buildings here, the Chu will be less of a threat to the empire as a whole. We've certainly got the money, it's just a case of getting the population up so you have enough unemployed people to build things for you without ruining the farming economy. Now it's time for some more governmental reform. First, we are going to buy a whole load of land off the nobility and give it to the peasants for free. How kind. So this should give us a pretty big buff to public order with the peasants in exchange for costing a load of money. But the reason I did that was in order to enact this standard weights and measures edict to improve the amount of money we make through trade. The peasants are outraged by the prospect of using standardized units. And even with the free land we gave them, it's already starting to cause rebellious thoughts among the people. I was pretty outraged by this. I thought surely it's not that bad having to use standardized weights and measures. But yes, people are annoyed, so we're having to raise the nobles into armies to keep the peasants down. And we even saw a bit of fighting, which could actually be related to this. At Chaisang, some bandits spawned outside the settlement, and they intercepted some peasants who were moving to go and garrison Chaisang, thus starting a battle. It's just our peasants versus theirs, but I think we have numerical inferiority here. Could be trouble. However, we do have a trump card, and that is our loyal vassal, the Han, who have a massive army in the area which comes over to help in this battle. This is going to be very nice. They're going to hit the enemy from behind, and while we did not do very well in the initial battle, this will be able to rout the enemy. It was especially important because we only had one unit of peasant spears guarding Chaisang, so if this couple of units of peasant spears had attacked it, they would have been able to just go into a breach that wasn't defended and capture the settlement immediately. So great timing and great work from our vassals, the Han, and now more units are on the way. I'm starting to garrison up some of our frontline locations at about this point. Just in case something goes down, we'll have a few units around, and also having units in the army improves your diplomatic position because you look strong, so it will make people less likely to attack us, I think, if we just have our front lines garrisoned up. Far to the west, our peasant scouts discover a new faction for us. It's the Zhou, a powerful faction on the other side of the Chu. Like the Chu, they're another group that's developed quite well and could be considered one of our rivals. But they are also very far away. They're stronger than us militarily, for whatever that means at the moment. While I was sitting here on this screen, I actually realized you can see how much money you're making trading with other powers and how much they make from you. This could be of relevance because you do have the option to embargo trade from people, so if another faction's making more money than you make off them, you can just stop trading to weaken them more than it weakens you, that sort of thing. Anyway, back to the Zhou. They're very far away, but I wanted them to be my friend just for the sake of it. Because I'm cheeky, we're not going to just offer friendship on its own. They have to give me something, and in this case they have to tell me where they live, and I don't have to do the same for them. Even though that was a very one-sided deal apparently, they do accept it, so we've got our Harmony Pact, and now we can see their capital. In particular, we can see how it's surrounded by lots of farmland, lots of controlled territory, and big trade routes. So they are a prosperous faction out there, similar to us, but again, they're very far away, so not all that much concern. Apparently I've got some information about the northwest of the map there, although we're never really going to be looking up there, so won't talk much about that. The Minua were my next diplomatic target. I went to them to see if I could buy them as a faction. They're also quite weak, like the Han we've seen before. They're easily bribed into giving us their territory, so I thought maybe a bribe will make them just surrender to us and be our vassal. However, they were outraged by the proposition. Apparently I am too weak to be an overlord, which is probably true. I wouldn't protect them if they were attacked. They've seen through my bluff. We can instead though go for the lesser agreement. We can ask them to proclaim me as the emperor, which apparently has a very precise price point for them as well. So this is less than being a vassal, but it just means they accept that I am the ruling power in China, even if they're also another independent ruling power. If you get enough people to do that, you can win the game, but you have to get pretty much everyone to do it. I went to the Dongyi and I thought maybe they would be willing to proclaim me as emperor, but no, they were not. I think the way it works is factions that are contenders, factions that are quite strong, will just never agree to be your vassal or ever agree to recognize you as the emperor, even if you give them outrageous bribes and outrageously favorable deals for them, because they are contending. They don't want to admit defeat in any way. So right here where I'm trying to buy the Chu, this is ultimately futile because they're too strong to be bought, even though it's saying here that they have some interest in the deal according to that abacus thing. Almost didn't offer it right then, just in case they did accept it, because that was such a large amount of money I was offering. Fortunately, they did not. A while later, we've got another reform. We can start the Imperial University. This will cost us some money, but among the benefits it brings is an increased tax collection efficiency. So actually we make money overall. That's all good. And on the topic of money, we basically have infinite money at this point. I've built everything that we can build. There are more things we can still develop, make our walls better and start building lavish things like palaces that don't really help all that much. But money is just no longer going to be a concern. I'm finally now going to pass the edict to have gentlemen ride horses. This will upgrade our noble axe troops into cavalry like the other factions did 100 turns ago. We are catching up. We are introducing horse riding at this late stage in the game. That will help us militarily later on. Now it came time to renegotiate our friendship with the Chu. Our friend deal was about to end. But again, I'm being very aggressive in my diplomacy, doing the old only if you call me daddy maneuver, and they're not having any of it. So as a result, our official friendship with Chu is now going to come to an end. Sensing that a conflict may be about to start, I'm going to enact this promotion in battle edict. This actually reduces our farming efficiency, but it increases the morale of the armies, so we're going to transition into more of a military build right now. Plus, we've already got plenty of people, so growth isn't that much of an issue. You can't grow beyond a certain cap just due to the space limits, etc. We need to start investing our money in defences at this point. So while before I was just building palaces everywhere, we're going to transition to upgrading all of our walls. These places in our back territories are very unlikely to be attacked in a war, but we've got loads of money, so let's just have maximum defences everywhere. At the very least, it'll make our people feel assured that things are going to go well. And of course, building them on the front line will actually be useful. I'm also going to start raising armies just in case something happens. And asking the nobility to ride horses is already paying dividends. We've started unlocking various cav units. We can get noble cav and regular cav and chariots as well, which are the downgrade of cav, or so I thought. I'm trying to compare the stats here, which is quite a difficult exercise. I'm going to ignore chariots for the most part. So yes, we're just going to put some armies together now in anticipation that the Chu might start getting uppity now that they're not our friends anymore and they might consider us a rival. And even if they don't, I consider them a rival of me. So if we get loads of armies together and they don't, then we could start taking their territory. We're so rich, we might as well do something with all this cash, so let's start having a giant field army. And I'm already ordering them to walk towards the Chu's border in anticipation of what we're going to do with them. I'm also raising troops even from places that don't have the military buildings like at the back, so these stacks with loads of peasant troops will just hang around and make our army look much bigger in the AI's vision of our faction, hopefully making us appear more imposing and strong. Plus, if we do have to use them in battle, it's probably better than nothing. Perhaps having a load of peasants swarm the enemy from behind or something will be nice. Speaking of that, I've already put some peasants behind the Chu's empire to raid their farms in case of conflict. I've also, by the way, got these ships going around in the rivers to the south, just scouting out territory and not really finding anything of note. But in case you wondered whether I was going to bother building fleets at any point, I've got a few around, they just don't do anything. Now all of my armies start moving towards the Chu front line, and we get an immediate response from them. They declare an embargo on our trade. I don't actually remember who was making more money off the trade, so maybe they're being more damaged by this than us. But they don't want us having any profit from their existence, so the trade's gone, and it's almost as if they want to give me a pretext for war right there politically. We could use that to invade them if we want to. Before anything like that though, let's have some more armies. We've still got a gigantic income which we don't need, might as well just keep raising troops. So I'm going to have a second wave of armies coming out of all of our settlements. It does take a while for unit pools to replenish, so we can't just make good armies all the time. A lot of our armies are going to be trash, and we'll just have the good ones at the front. You can see now we've got loads of them all over the place, and a couple of them are right on the border with the Chu, not quite stepping over the line, but ready to do it in case anything goes down. And something does go down. We get the first warning of it when the Shang and the Han come to us asking for intelligence on our enemies. And before we didn't have any enemies, so clearly something has just happened. And now we learn we've entered not one but two wars. The Min Yuer make a surprise arrival to the diplomatic scene. They're going to declare war on us right now. Didn't see that coming. What I did see coming was the Chu declaring war on us. So they actually started the war. That's nice. Now we can get the political bonus of not being the aggressor. First though, I wanted to look at the Min Yuer. This is a bit cheeky from them. They do even have a few units that might threaten us down here in the southwest. However, there's not much point getting hyped over the Min Yuer's sneaky rear attack, because I'm just going to buy them off. I'm just going to send them a whole load of money to get peace. And I even, in that deal, bought that settlement that was on my border with them. So that was pretty cheeky. We've ended the war right away, making sure we can focus only on the west, and we've even gained some more territory. So you could say we won that war. We'll be getting the money back in no time. The Min Yuer won't be getting their territory back. So then, it's time to focus on the Chu. An official war between two developed empires will begin in the next part.